So fast forward a couple years, 1 year into Amplify proper as a program, and again, one of our top partners, the NBA, this is just from Sunday night, I think, is tweeting out clips. And I'll explain the difference here. So a few different things to note. You've got a pre-roll.
Eye on the ball and then gets back to his man.
You've got the promoted by MX serve in there. So you've got different camera angles being used by the NBA. You've actually got a Twitter native video player in here. So to break that down a little bit and kind of explain how all this works, because it's not obvious from the face of it, this tweet is coming out of the NBA's handle, as you can see. It's coming out of their account. They control all the editorial in it. It's their video. Then it's going to all the NBA's followers organically. When it gets picked up by MX Serve, you see that promoted piece there, that's not only going to also MX Serve's followers, so it's the brand and the content partner joining forces inside of a tweet, the same way they do on TV or in print. It's also getting distributed out. That little promoted by piece will target it out to people who are talking about block shots, or who are talking about the NBA on Twitter in that moment, or who might be from the hometown of one of the two teams, or who we know from who they follow and anything else is in the market for a new financial product. So again, sharing an audience between the content and the brand, but then also targeting it out. The video piece of it's interesting too. This is brand new. You saw on the previous one, the slam dunk cam, a couple years ago, Twitter didn't even have its own native photo hosting. That was a TwitPic. We now obviously have that, but we also have our own native video player. And the really cool thing about it is the NBA is actually hosting this themselves. They're using their own back-end video for this, but we're just providing a user interface that lets any of our partners plug in whatever hosting solution they want to use, whatever third-party ad server they want to use, whatever third-party metrics they want to use. So we don't want to control the whole video stack. We want to make the video stack modular, which is pretty cool for a consumer platform. It's the first time I've heard of that being the case. For the user, it's invisible, which is good. For the user, it's just basically one tap on the phone. One tap, you can play it back, and it'll go full screen. So like I said, it started heavily with sports, and we kind of knew we were onto something. We were excited when we had, right out of the gate, we had ESPN college football highlights. We had March Madness with Turner, where Coke and AT&T had sponsored it. And I'll show you some examples of some of the really cool creative that our partners came up with. And very quickly, though, it exceeded our expectations even in how much kind of demand there was for this, both among brands and content partners who wanted to have a two-screen video solution that was pretty easy to do, that wasn't competitive with the first screen, but complementary to it. So if a brand's already invested in the first screen, they can now own the conversation and own the video on the second screen in an easy way. And then we extended beyond sports, which was not something we originally had in mind. We were really just focused completely on the user experience of, wouldn't it be cool if Twitter users could get instant replays on their phone? Doesn't that seem like the most Twittery thing in the world? But then a lot of our partners, top 4 networks, a lot of international partners, some even non-TV partners, started coming up with uses for Amplify that we didn't anticipate, using it for live events, for scripted programming, and for news. There was a lot of demand for using Amplify for news, given the kind of real-time nature of things. So very quickly, we started seeing things that we hadn't anticipated, and that's when the creativity of the partners and the advertisers started coming into it and really transforming things in a way where we could really just focus on the platform itself and making the technology work as well as we can. So here's a fun example from the NFL. So NFL, core sports partner, our biggest partner, they really programmed Twitter with video. They were treating it like a channel. They were doing 40 video clips a week, including in-game highlights, including some kind of color commentary and stuff like that, and including this really interesting call and response almost with the audience, where Peyton Manning during the playoffs last year people on Twitter noticed, was saying the word Omaha a lot when he was doing the count call to his offensive line. Some kind of code, part of some sort of code he was using with his offensive line to tell them when the play would start. Saying Omaha a lot, and people were tweeting about it. People were like, why is Peyton Manning saying Omaha all the time? What's the deal with this?
All your favorites are still here.
And so the NFL responded with a video feeding exactly that conversation. In a video that's not an instant replay by any stretch of the imagination.
Most of it being Thomas after, but instead, the ball is moved. And it's a tough that the first 2 games. Peyton's right side.
That's it. It keeps going. We'll talk right after it. He said Omaha a lot last year. So notice how many retweets it has. It's not an instant replay. It's kind of like almost art school video about football, but made by the NFL. Obviously, we would never have dreamed this was going to happen when we thought of this stuff. But NFL really took the bull by the horns and started doing really creative things like this. There's another example that I don't have ready for you today, but during the combine, which is kind of like feats of strength for players who are about to get drafted, they were superimposing the 40-yard dash, one player on top of the other. So using the technique of superimposing one video clip on top of another tech, you could actually see in real time who was faster than the last guy. And I mentioned extended beyond sports, and this is obviously a recent kind of famous moment for Twitter and TV. This is the famous Ellen selfie, which had no promotion behind it, no ad dollars driving the distribution of it, merely tweeted out by Ellen and then retweeted organically. This saw 3 billion impressions, 3.5 million retweets, with no advertising behind it at all. And at the same time, backstage, we had a Amplify program going with the Twitter mirror, which is kind of like the celebrity version of the tweeting backboard cam. There's a mirror that Samsung was powering with a Samsung tablet inside of it, so you're starting to see where the brand integration comes in. They promote it here, Samsung Mobile. So as the big conversation is happening, totally organically from first screen to second screen, same principle as what we've talked about here. We know there's a spike in conversation. You inject content into it. That's why the Ellen selfie exploded. Everyone's watching, everyone's talking. Tweet the content into it. Whether promoted or not, the model's the same.